Queremos la paz y el orden si eso se cumple.
¿Y el pueblo lo creerá?
Los débiles sí.
No habrá otros dioses. Mátalo.
So a script was sent to me called Clavius, Not Risen. And I started to read it, and I thought, this is a really interesting detective noir set in Judea a couple of thousand years ago. And then it began to open up into the story of Christ. But for me, the fresh angle of seeing this story unfold through the eyes of the enemy, if you like, through the eyes of a non-believer, had great value, and that was what hooked me in. And also working with Kevin Reynolds, we met in Madrid, actually, and we had a long 2-3 hour discussion about the film and how we viewed it. And after that, he offered it to me. So, you know, the combination of a really fresh script on a wonderful, beautiful old story that so many of us know and love was really interesting to me. I didn't look at, I've seen other films, and most notably The Robe with Richard Burton, but it's very evangelical and very old-fashioned and of its day. So I didn't really look at any films for inspiration. What I looked for, and I found through reading and research, was that the Roman army borrowed a lot of techniques from the gladiators because they were supreme at warfare. And so I found a gladiator school in Rome, and I flew out and I enrolled as a Roman gladiator. And but through this boot camp, if you like, I got to learn that the way they fought was the way they thought. It was analytical, it was brutal, it was surgical. They fought as a machine, like a Swiss clock. And when they went into battle, it was in absolute perfect unison. And so understanding the conditioning of the Roman military mind was the big key for me. And the more that I understood that, the more I conditioned myself in that way of thinking, which allowed me then to go on this journey where that conditioning is challenged to a point where he is deconditioned. So that was really my way in. My way in was a physical one. Well, this is sacred territory. This narrative is hallowed ground to millions. And of course, there have been films, biblical films, that have been very revisionist. And then there have been films that are very boring Sunday school lessons. And when you partake in this narrative, you know, one wants to be cautious and respectful, but also cinematic. So it's this dance between honoring Scripture, because there's huge virtue in great stories in the Scripture. They're fantastic stories. But also not making it like a Sunday school, you know, Bible lesson. And it's great that it seems overwhelmingly the faith-based communities, the Church, the Vatican, here with Monsignor in the church where we are, have celebrated what the film stands for. And I guess, especially at this time of year, Easter, moment of Lent, that there's great virtue to take from the film, the discussion of faith and what that means, and also to non-believers. This is a great cinematic feast, but also there's value in the discussions of forgiveness and just second chances. Clavius gets a second chance. He murders a man and is forgiven. So we can interpret that as that if we take a wrong turning, there might be an opportunity to get back on track through forgiveness. So it's great that the Church has embraced it, because if it didn't, I think we would have failed in one sense. But also my wish is that we get a cross-section, a diverse cross-section of audience members to see the movie. Well, before I get into a film for this time of year, which would have to be Risen, but on television I'll come back to that. I think we have to celebrate, yes, Almeria, we have to celebrate. And you yourself have to help me celebrate the fact that this is a 50% Spanish movie. The gifted technicians and stunt coordinators and actors and producers involved are Spanish, and we shot in Almeria, which is a beautiful part of Spain, and is a Sea of Galilee and part of the desert sequences. So it's cinematically beautiful, but also the people of Almeria and also our Spanish producers, or co-producers, and actors and all the technical crew there have to be applauded and supported. It's a big part of the Spanish industry and voice, and it's great that we're sort of co-producing with America as well, and Malta, so that we must support that. And a film for me, you know, it's a Charles Dickens film, and you know, for me, it's for Christmas, it's not for Easter, but that's one film that I love. But if it was for Easter, it might have to be The Gospel According to St. John by Pasolini, which is a beautiful rendering of the story of Christ when he comes out of the desert.
¿Qué te da miedo? Equivocarme y que la eternidad dependa de ello. ¿Qué te da miedo? Equivocarme y que la eternidad dependa de ello.